Let it fly.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. We're excited to welcome you all. We're gonna give everyone just a couple of minutes to get on. And if you can, let us know who you are and where you're joining us from in the chat.
I'm Ann Plyler, and I'm from Cincinnati.
We are going to try to have everybody be muted during the call. So welcome, and please let us know where you are from in the chat.
In the chat? Yeah, she said to put it in the chat.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. We're so glad you are choosing to spend your evening with us. While we are getting everything settled, we would love to have you let us know who you are, where you're from, and if you have a minute, you can sign up to get involved via the link that we just dropped in the chat. So welcome, everyone. My name is Alison Reynoldsberry. I'm the Executive Director of the Intercommunity Justice and Peace Center here in Cincinnati. And IJPC has been working to end the death penalty and support those on death row since the late 1990s. We're honored to be co-hosting tonight's event with the Ohio Innocence Project, whose work has led to the release of 33 wrongfully convicted Ohioans. Tonight's event, Innocence and the Push for Abolishing Ohio's Death Penalty, is also presented in partnership with No Death Penalty OH, the coalition, which includes IJPC, Ohioans to Stop Executions, and ACLU Ohio. We would love for you to be involved in that campaign and connected to all of the incredible updates and organizing work that's happening throughout the state. So please sign up via the link that we'll place in the chat, either now or at some point later. We want to thank each of you who has chosen to log in and be part of the event tonight. As we begin, it's helpful to have a sense of who's gathered here and your current feeling on the topic of capital punishment. And so we are going to invite each of you to take an anonymous poll tonight. So I'm going to launch the poll. And the poll asks, which statement best reflects your current belief about the death penalty? And so we'll ask each of you to choose which option best fits you, if you support the death penalty, if you're not sure how you feel, if you oppose the death penalty. About 77% of you have voted so far, which is great. We'll just have a few more coming in. And 99% of you say that you are opposed to the death penalty. So that is wonderful. And we are excited to spend tonight sharing more information for anybody who is unsure, for anybody who is supportive of the death penalty. We hope that the stories of folks who are gathered here tonight will be persuasive and educational for you. So we have a lot to learn together. Shortly, we will open with a prayer and share a little bit about why we're gathered here tonight to abolish the death penalty. And then we'll hear from our incredible panel of guests, Derrick Jamison, Representative Jean Schmidt, and Senator Cecil Thomas. After the panel, please be sure to stick around for our Q&A and learn more about how you can get involved and take action to support abolition. At this time, I would like to welcome the Reverend Deacon Royce Winters, who's the Director of the Office of African American Pastoral Ministries for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, to open tonight's gathering with a prayer.
Good evening. Prior to praying, let me just give you some insight on who I am other than a director. I've been married 46 years with one woman, which is even better than that, and three adult kids and an adult grandson and a teenage granddaughter. But I retired from the Cincinnati Police Division after 27 years of service. My first assignment was in District 4 in Bond Hill in Cincinnati, and it was on the same relief with Senator Cecil Thomas. So I've known him at least since I retired, since I began my police career. But part of that career involved drug enforcement from local to regional to federal as well. And just to talk about that just a little bit is that during the time I was in drug enforcement, the U.S. government through the president stated that there was going to be a war on drugs, and we went head on into that war. I now know, as an informed person, how many lives that were destroyed because of that effort. Not that there wasn't any good done in it, but I ask God every day for forgiveness for the lives that were torn, and the mandate that on the federal level, that even a piece of crack cocaine was a minimum of 5 years in prison. So, and I think I'm speaking for myself, is that even for the death penalty and being involved in law enforcement, of all that, most of that career, never giving much thought to what I was doing and how it was impacting lives. It is through the ministry that I was called to while still a police officer that I had to form myself on all of those various things that are in our society that must be addressed and deal with justice and reconciliation. And I just thank you for this opportunity to participate in this discussion, but let's pray. O God of justice and God of mercy, we ask your anointing upon this conversation, that it may bring us to a new reality, that though we may profess that all life should see dignity in its lifetime, we have systemic ills in our society that harms that for so many. You who created woman and man in your own image, and that all lives are sacred. May we do all that we can as servants in the vineyard to do the work that addresses this evil called death penalty and its impact. We ask for forgiveness, but we ask for healing. We ask for reconciliation. We ask for wholeness. We ask to be restored. And may we do all that we can to be advocates for justice in every phase of our lives, and everything that speaks against the quality of life, the dignity of life for all people. For you are God, and you who created all things good, ask of us to be holy as you are holy. And the church says amen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the prayer, Reverend Deacon. So I am Jennifer Pryor. I am the Director of Community Outreach and Organizing at OTC, Ohio Innocence Stop Executions. And the reason that we're here tonight is really to learn about this failed policy and get some facts and to encounter people who have actually been brushed up against the death penalty within their life. It has impacted them directly. We're going to hear from lawmakers, and we are going to get inspired to get involved in the No Death Penalty OH campaign. So going through the slides, today we're talking about innocence. We in Ohio have 11 exonerees, and we have executed 56 people since 1981. And if you do the math quickly in your head, that is a 1 in 5 ratio. So if you understand that our justice system and the end result of execution is a human policy, and you understand, I think we all understand here that humans aren't perfect. We cannot have a system where the end result is execution made by humans. You're not equipped to be the ones to decide who lives and dies. So nationally, the numbers are even more stark. 1,532 people have been executed since 1973. 185 people exonerated and released from death row since 1973. And that's about 1 in 8 nationally. And I'm sorry, for every 8 people executed, there is a person on death row that has been exonerated. So keep that in mind. Maybe you can go to the next slide. So why is now the time in Ohio to get involved in this campaign? What's different, right? Well, we've had polling done. 59% of Ohioans support replacing the death penalty with life in prison without the possibility of parole. 59% of households with a member employed by the criminal justice system are supportive of death penalty repeal. And so that's not what you hear in the media. The media would have you think that this is a very partisan issue, or that the criminal justice system is absolutely for and absolutely needs the death penalty, and that's not the case at all. Family members will tell you that, and so will victim family members. And 69% of Democrats, 53% of Republicans support death penalty repeal, highlighted in the bipartisan nature of this issue. And I'm sure that our Representative Schmidt and Senator Thomas will allude to that later, but these both bills, HB 183 and SB 103, are very, very, very well supported on both sides of the aisle. Next slide. I'm sorry, Allison, or is that Nate?
I believe it's Allison.
Thanks so much. So we are excited to welcome this incredible panel for this evening's event. Senator Thomas was elected in November 2014 to serve Ohio's 9th Senate District. This General Assembly, he was elected Assistant Minority Leader by his peers and serves as the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He also serves on the Government Oversight, Health Insurance, and Local Government Committees. Senator Thomas spent 27 years working throughout the city as a Cincinnati police officer before he retired in 2000 to assume the executive directorship of the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. In 2005, Senator Thomas stepped down from his position with the commission to serve as a member of the Cincinnati City Council, where he began a program that evolved into what is known today as the Cincinnati Initiative to Reduce Violence. Senator Thomas is a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 103, which would abolish the death penalty in Ohio. We are also thrilled to have Representative Jean Schmidt, who is currently serving her first term as state representative for the 65th Ohio District. She serves on the House Criminal Justice, Families, Aging, and Human Services and Finance Committees. Rep. Schmidt is a dedicated public servant and has previously served in both the Ohio House of Representatives and the U.S. House of Representatives, spanning from 2001 to 2013. She was the first woman to serve Southern Ohio in Congress. In addition to public service, Rep. Schmidt has served as president of the Cincinnati Right to Life and on the board of the Claremont County Public Library. Recently, she enjoyed teaching government and the Constitution at Chatfield College. She also volunteers at City Gospel Mission, helping victims of the drug crisis through therapeutic running and training. Representative Schmidt is the primary sponsor of House Bill 183, which would abolish Ohio's death penalty. And last but not least, Derrick Jamison spent 20 years on Ohio's death row for a crime he did not commit. Derrick was in his apartment complex with 5 of his friends during the time of the murder for which he was wrongfully convicted. Yet these friends, who could attest to his alibi, were not brought in to testify on his behalf. When an eyewitness to the killing of the Cincinnati bartender was shown photos of suspects by police, he identified 2 men. Neither of them was Derrick Jamison. This information, along with 35 pieces of evidence, was withheld from Derrick's trial, and his co-defendant was promised a reduced sentence in exchange for implicating Derrick. Based on this false testimony, Derrick was convicted in 1985 and sentenced to death. He always knew he was innocent and believed he would eventually be freed, but he endured 20 years on death row as an innocent man before his exoneration. 20 years of missed milestones, celebrations, loves, and losses. IJPC and I have had the honor of working with Derrick many times over the years, and we're grateful to have him with us tonight, all the way from Florida. So at this time, we are going to go back to our regular view mode so that we can see our panel as we start engaging with some questions for them. And our first question to the panel is, why are you opposed to the death penalty? A simple but powerful question. And Derrick, I'd like you to start us off if you're willing. Derrick, can you unmute yourself? I know he was having some problems with his sound.
I got it.
All right, Derrick.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. So you have just
thank you.
5 minutes
Thank
or
you.
so if you can tell us.
Hi. I'm the 119th death row exoneree in the United States, and I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was wrongfully convicted and sent to die. And when I was on death row, I watched 18 of my friends get executed. And the day I was released from death row, William Williams was being executed as I was being freed from death row. So I'm against the death penalty because I watched all my friends die. Since 1999, 56 people have been executed in the state of Ohio. And I knew them guys. I was there with them. I was there with them while they carried out 18 executions. And the best day of my life, October the 25th, the day I was walking off death row, they were preparing my best friend, William Williams, Little Lou. They called him Little Lou. They were preparing him to be executed that morning that I was leaving death row. And he sat right across from me, you know. He was one of my best friends, you know. But he was executed that morning, the morning I was leaving death row. October the 25th, the best day of my life, and also the day I was sent to die in Ohio. So I'm against the death penalty, and I'm always be against it. And I speak out against the death penalty all over the United States, all over the world, really, if I can, you know. So I'm gonna continue to do this amazing work because nobody should have the right to say who should live or die in America, you know, and killing people is just wrong. And in the state of Ohio, we got 9 death row exonerees in the state of Ohio. You know, that's 9 reasons we need to end the death penalty. Well, it's 185 people that's been exonerated in the United States, but That's 185 reasons we need to end the death penalty in the United States, because we're making awful mistakes. You know, we're killing innocent people. You know, I watch my friends die on Ohio death row. It's one of the worst feelings you could have. You know, I remember the first execution like it was yesterday, when a guy named Wilford Berry, he was from Cleveland, Ohio. He volunteered to be executed. And I remember that day he was executed like it was yesterday. You know, this little bitty guy from Cleveland. He wasn't even from Ohio, he was from Texas, but he volunteered to be executed, and they carried out his wishes, you know. And it was one of the most awful feelings, watching a person die, you know. Should nobody have to go through that, especially an innocent person. And we got 185 men and women in the United States that's been exonerated from death rows around the country. So we need to find another solution, and we need to end the death penalty in the United States, because we're making too many mistakes. You know, we're killing innocent people, you know, and should nobody have to suffer like that, you know. And we the only civilized country that's still killing our citizens, you know. So can y'all still see me? Hello?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the reason I am against the death penalty, especially in Ohio, because I watched 56 people get executed in the state of Ohio. Since 1999, when Wilford Berry was volunteered to be executed, the state of Ohio had executed 56 men, you know. And I knew them guys. I knew most of them when they was teenagers. I knew more, and one of my best friends, Romeo Broom, he was sent to die the same day I was, October the 25th of 1985. And he the only person that survived lethal injection in America. They tried to kill this man, y'all. They shot him with the poison, like he had like 20 to 30 some different band-aids on his arm from where they had stuck him with the needle to kill him. But God didn't want to see him dead that day. He survived. He the only person to survive lethal injection. But as you know, Romeo Broom died from COVID-19 2 months ago. And he was one of my best friends, you know. And he was one of the reasons I fight, you know, because me and him came on death row the exact same day, you know. And he was the only person I know that survived lethal injection in America, you know. Can you imagine that, you know? And, oh man, but the worst day of my life being on death row in Ohio was, you know, I lost both of my parents while I was on Ohio death row. The death penalty didn't kill me, but it destroyed my family, you know, and I could still see the effect that it has on my family and me. You know, should nobody have to suffer like that, you know, should nobody have to go through that. And should nobody have a right to say who should live or die in America.
That's exactly right, Derrick. Thank you so much for sharing just a little bit of your story, and for all of the advocacy that you continue to do on behalf of those who are still on death row. Derrick, if you can get your video working, we'd love to see your face. I don't know if you're still having technical difficulties, but we can't see you yet. While you work on that, I'm gonna mute you just for a second.
Okay.
And then we're going to turn over to Representative Schmidt. If you could answer the same question, why are you opposed to the death penalty?
Well, if you had an hour, I could give you all the reasons why I'm opposed. But let me tell you this, 20 years ago on Halloween, I spoke on the House floor asking to keep the death penalty, even though I was pro-life. I just felt that it wasn't right to let violent criminals survive. But in 20 years, I've changed my mind, and there were numerous reasons why I did. But the most important are two. One is that I am pro-life. And if I'm pro-life from conception to natural death means natural death, period. Number two, we can't always get criminal justice right. The Constitution guarantees us, or is supposed to guarantee us, a fair trial, but not a fair outcome. Well, it's one thing when you're on in the penal system for 20 years and you get exonerated, but it's another thing when you're on death row and that exoneration doesn't come. We can't get you back if we've executed you. The third is an ethical issue. We don't have any way to execute people in Ohio that doesn't violate the 8th Amendment. And what my state legislator colleagues did a few years ago was create this idea that we would allow compounding pharmacies to actually create the drug. We give doctors the power to write the script. And oh, by the way, we wouldn't deliver that drug to the penal institution. We deliver it to a mental hospital so that we couldn't trace the origin of the drug. But guess what? The drug didn't work. The ends never justify the means. We also have a cost issue. It costs so much more to try a capital case than a regular case. 70% of the costs in a capital case occur at the trial. The other 30% are with the appeals process and housing the prisoners. The fourth reason is what it does to the victims' families. These families so desperately need time to heal, and they need a support system that allows them to heal. The good news is the prosecutors give them that at the time of trial, but when the trial is over, they're often forgotten. And every time that date of execution comes up, it reminds those victims of the horrors that they had, whether these folks are innocent or guilty. And to relive that and not have a support system to help them, I think is an injustice in itself. I look at the cost savings and I say to myself, maybe we can use it for those victims. The other is that we know that it is not an equitable justice for folks who commit crimes, period. Folks that are of color, folks that are indigent, do not have the same ability to have stellar defense as folks with money and who tend to be white. We know that crimes involving white victims, when it's either a black or a white felon, are more likely to get the death penalty than if it's a victim who is black. They tend, the people that perpetrated the crime are less likely to get the death penalty. We also know that depending upon your geography, your income, the color of your skin, and the area that you live in. Some county prosecutors go for the death penalty. In my county, in Claremont County, we have a tendency not to because of the cost. So it's not a fair application of the law. And finally, I look at the fact that all the money that we have that indigent defense attorneys, public defenders have to spend on these cases. They have so limited funds, so limited time, such a limited staff. And if we can erase the death penalty phase of this, they will have more time to pull their attention together to giving all people that are indicted a fair trial. So for those reasons and more, I'm against it. And I finally want to add that when I made the decision to come back into politics, there were two driving factors. And one was getting rid of the death penalty. The time has come. It is the only humane way we as a nation can say we truly are for liberty for all and fairness for all. So we've got to end this, and I do believe that the time's right in Ohio to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Schmidt. The time for sure is right. And so unfortunately, Senator Thomas is having a little bit of Zoom issues getting on. So we're gonna go into our next question and then let him answer both questions when he gets in. So Derrick, we can see you now, which is wonderful. Derrick, why are you hopeful that we can abolish the death penalty at this time? You know, we've been working on it for a long time. Why do you think that now is the time that we can abolish the death penalty? And I need you, sorry, Derrick, before you start to unmute. There you go.
Oh, it's always the perfect time, Alison, to end the death penalty. You know, and you asking me because I lost so much, and the hards. You know, I wasn't on death row. I was in hell. I wasn't in jail. I was in hell. You know, and I watched all my friends perish. You know, all them young guys. You know, I remember the day walking on death row, how young they was. You know, and I watched all these young men grow up to be healthy young men and taken out of their cell and executed, you know, and a lot of them was innocent. You know, I was innocent, you know, and it's a horrible feeling, you know, and shouldn't we, I'll be so happy today when Ohio ends the death penalty, because it has caused so much damage to our communities around the country, around the state of Ohio, you know. A lot of innocent people have died in Ohio, you know. And I just feel so sad having the death penalty in Ohio, you know?
That's right, Derrick. We do too. And we for sure will celebrate when that happens. Representative Schmidt, I know this was certainly a call for you, as you mentioned, a driving force. Why are you hopeful that we can abolish the death penalty at this time?
The time is right. When you look at statistics, whether it's the poll that you showed or the Terrence poll that was taken a little over a year ago, public sentiment is moving towards life without parole. I think that the media has done an excellent job in showcasing the fact that we don't always get prosecution and sentencing correct. We do house innocent people in prison. Tyra Patterson is a personal friend of mine. She spent 23 years in prison for a crime she didn't do. We know that some people can be bullied into a false confession. It's not just me that knows this, there are other people. When you look at the television programs, whether they're fictional or factual, it showcases the inequities. The second is there's a growing sentiment among my Republican colleagues that we need to erase this in the criminal justice system. Most of the Democrats, fortunately, are on board. There are a couple that we need to work on. But I do know that getting this to the floor, we have an excellent chance of getting it passed. And when you look at the Senate and you look at the sponsors in the Senate, and the fact that one of them is the cousin of the president of the Senate, and that there is a movement to allow that bill to pass in the Senate. When you have both chambers on the same track, this is the best moment we have to eradicate this. But that doesn't mean that we can sit back and say, oh, let it happen. We have to be adamant in this cause. And I hope that the folks that are viewing this tonight will take a call to action on this. Look at who their state representative and their state senator are, and not take it for granted which column that they are in, but speak to them personally about your feelings on the death penalty and why you think it's wrong. I applaud this coalition that is being formed around Ohio. I have never in my political life seen such a diverse group of people surrounding a single issue, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Thank you, Representative Schmidt. We are proud to be part of it too. So at this time, we are going to go ahead and move into our Q&A. Senator Thomas is going to call in, but until he does, we want to make sure to be connected with all the folks who are gathered here tonight and answer some of the questions. So I'm going to turn things over at this time to Stephen Densmore, who is one of the members of our Southern Ohio organizing team for the Q&A. And Stephen, when Senator Thomas comes on, we can kind of weave him into this.
Very good. Thank you, Alison. Everyone, welcome. My name is Stephen Densmore. I'm the mayor of the village of Gulf Man. It's a predominantly African-American community just north of the city of Cincinnati. And I'm honored tonight to be doing the moderation of the Q&A section here. It's time to hear from the audience. You have your chat section there. You can put your questions there. We also can receive questions through the Facebook Live area. And we have a team of folks that will forward those questions to me to ask of our panel. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to ask the first question to you, Representative Schmidt. And that is, you touched on this a little bit already. What's the most effective messaging? If folks in the audience, if I really want to play a role in helping this get passed, is it both in terms of the messaging, the content of the messaging, but the form as well? Is it talking to our friends about it and encouraging action? Is it direct letters to our representatives? Is it letters to folks that aren't our direct representatives? What's your tips as an experienced Congresswoman? And you may need to unmute yourself. I'm sorry.
Okay. First off, since we are the ones in the legislature that actually vote on this, grabbing our attention is paramount. Obviously, face-to-face is the best, doesn't always work. Letters, especially handwritten letters, are the second most effective. Emails are the third. The fourth and probably least effective are the massive postcards that we get that are generated from a group. It shows volume of sentiment, but not the personalization of the sentiment. So that's number one. But number two, you have more voices speak louder than a single voice. So in addition to grabbing our attention, you need to also get your friends, your family, your neighbors, people you don't even know, and strike up that conversation. If you're on an airplane, if you're on a bus, if you're just waiting in line at a restaurant, start the conversation and see where people are. And in that conversation, say, you know, if you really feel strongly about this, why don't you contact your representative and then know how to contact it? There's a website that you can use. The Ohio website has all of our information on it, but be proactive yourself. A team of horses speak louder than a single horse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we joined yet by Senator Thomas?
Not yet. I'll let you know when he's here.
We do have some questions in the chat.
I'll pick those up. I have the first question looks like it's to Representative Schmidt and Senator Thomas. Thank you for your support of the death penalty repeal. What are you doing to make sure your Republican and Democrat colleagues will vote yes when this bill is in committee and on the floor? Is there anything the community can do to support you?
Well, I'm not going to tell you all my secrets, but I was able to get the speaker to move the bill out of the wrong committee into the right committee. And while I have my suspicions why it was moved into the wrong committee, could be that the folks in that committee weren't really receptive to the idea. The one thing I've learned a long time ago in my life, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I went in personally with the speaker and I told him how much this meant to me when I asked for a fair shot. Now I'm working on members in the committee that it is in to make sure we can get it out of committee. And we don't have all the Democrats on board in criminal justice. There is one that is not on board. I think we've got enough that we will get it through criminal justice, but I take nothing for granted. And every chance I get, I talk to my colleagues about it. As much as I would like to have a unanimous vote on it, I'm a realist. If I can get 51 votes, I'll be a happy camper because I know that the governor will sign this bill.
Sorry, I was muted. Derrick, Mr. Jameson, next question is for you. And it's, what do you wish people knew about the death penalty system? I know you spoke a little bit about your experiences with that. What's the single most thing either that you think people don't know that you really wish they know about the system?
What they really don't know is that how only poor white, poor blacks, and poor Hispanics basically get the death penalty. You'll never see a rich person get the death penalty. You only see poor people get the death penalty because they ain't able to fight back. That's the reason they get the death penalty, you know? That's really what you gotta pay attention to, cause that's one of the problems, cause it's basically poor Mexican, poor Hispanics, poor blacks, and poor whites that get the death penalty, you know? So that's a problem right there, and that ain't fair right there. So that's a problem with the death penalty right there. You know, it ain't fair, it ain't equal, you know? And we shouldn't have no death penalty. You know, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was executed at the age of 33. So why are we still executing people? We shouldn't even be having this conversation in 2021. You know, we still killing people, man. You know how bold and how wild, how evil that is? The death penalty is pure evil, man. And we need to stop playing and call it as it is. It's evil. We need to get rid of it. We need to stop killing our citizens, especially our, you know, it's awful, man. And, you know, right. Nobody got the right to kill other people, man. It's just wrong.
I know that we're going to probably be reiterating what I'm about to say over and over tonight. Thank you so much for your service. I mean, you know, you're not just walking away saying, you know, woo, I got out of this, you know, I'm saved, but actually contributing back. And it's just, we are all so grateful for that, for your voice. I see that Senator Thomas is here.
Finally.
Yes.
Hey, Cecil, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I've been trying to get on since 7 o'clock.
Oh, man. I had problems too, brother. I had problems too. Yeah.
Well, I'm here to try to help out as best I can.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Thomas. I've got a couple of questions for you. One is, and Representative Schmidt had an opportunity to answer them just a little bit ago. The first one has to do with the best messaging from your experience when we are trying, when we residents of Ohio, citizens of Ohio, are trying to influence this process, trying to get it over the tipping point so that it gets to the governor's desk. What's the best messaging, both in terms of content and in terms of what, you know, is it emails? Is it letters? Is it, you know, coming on down to the State House? What's in your experience, what's the best thing that changes people's minds?
Well, I think the first step is information, showing the impact that the death penalty, first of all, clearly indicate that it's not a deterrent. It has never been a deterrent. But information to the senators, and those senators that you would start with will be those that are on the committee, to whom whatever committee it would be assigned to. There are maybe 11 members on the committee. The majority will obviously be members of the Republican Party, and reaching out to each one of them. You also want to do your homework before you reach out to them by looking at pretty much a little history about each one of them. Oftentimes you will find that there are members on the other side of the aisle that may have some sensitivity to these areas. Oftentimes what I do is have individuals that are interested in trying to move forward some legislation that they support, is to reach out to my office, and I can probably give you an idea of which of those senators that you need to talk to first. I do know that there is some warming up on the other side to this whole issue of the death penalty. And I was a little surprised to hear that there were a few that were supporting it. The problem, though, is that trying to get it through both houses, the House and the Senate, that's going to be difficult, simply because not only have there been a number of senators that, well, in the past that were not anywhere interested in hearing about the death penalty, getting rid of it. The House in particular has gotten even more far to the right, if you will. I hate to use those terms, but who are nowhere near interested in the death penalty. So it makes it even more difficult. But it's not something to say that we can't get it done. But again, I would start with talking to those senators. The messaging has to be stories like what we hear all the time. Science today is so advanced to the point where there are a number of individuals that have been found to have not committed the offense, and while they were waiting on death row. These are the kinds of stories that we hear all the time about that should be brought to the masses of the legislature. When they start hearing those stories, sometimes you may reach the hearts of some of those that are pretty much dug in. But the stories is a start, testimonies, and then utilize the whole method of the email system, sending form letters that are coming from around the state of individuals. I don't know what the pollings are right now, but it wouldn't hurt if we knew. I would not be surprised that the majority of the citizens of Ohio do not agree with the death penalty. I would be very surprised not that's not the case. And it's that kind of direction that I would recommend. But I mean, we have doctors on our in the legislature. We have individuals who truly believe in the right to life, and that transcends not just birth, but also putting people to death. You know, and I've seen that. In fact, I've heard that in some conversations with some of our Republican members of the House. So I think those are kinds of directions we want to start looking at.
Thank you, sir. The next question that we had was about what you're doing specifically, what that process looks like for you in terms of convincing your colleagues on the other side of the aisle. You mentioned that you could tell us some names. Are you able to tell us those names tonight of folks to focus on, or is that something that we should hold off on right now?
Oftentimes when you put the names out there, see, one of the interesting situations you find now is that members on the other side of the aisle, as well as our members as well, they have a constituency that they have to answer to. And if there's something controversial, they don't want to be the ones to take the lead on it. They will quietly have their names put on it, but they will not want to be out in the forefront. And by me giving names of individuals that I have spoken to, without their permission, I would not do that. I don't want to lose any of the few members that I do know would potentially support the issue. But I will be glad to get their permission and then enlighten you all at a different time.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We have some questions here. We have probably more questions than we may be able to get to. So I'm going to take, in terms of being up against the time limit here, I'm going to let Alison kind of let me know when I need to start reining things in. The first one that I have here is there has only been one hearing of the House bill. Do you know when there will be a proponent or opponent hearings? Has there been a hearing in the Senate?
There has not been a hearing in the Senate.
This comes from our chat.
Yeah, there's not been a hearing in the Senate.
Okay.
Hi.
I just gave sponsor testimony today in the House at 4 o'clock. So I haven't bugged the chairman on the schedule for proponent or opponent testimony, but I am really hoping that we have a great deal of people that will give proponent testimony and live proponent testimony, especially those that have been exonerated, like our distinguished member of the panel who lives in Florida, but also folks like Joe D'Ambrosio, which has a really fabulous story to tell. Maybe one of the gentlemen from the Cleveland three that were, finally found innocent in 2016. But folks that have been found innocent on death row are powerful, powerful messages, as well as just folks like you that really are moved on this issue.
Thank you.
And I will let you all know when I get opponent testimony. May not let you know when I get opponent. Yes, I will. I'm joking.
Thank you.
We have a member in our audience that isn't able to type, so I'm going to call on him for his question. That's Mark Jefferson. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question if you're still here? Mark? Maybe you need to unmute yourself. You're having technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, the question, Mayor Denmore, we have. I'm with the Innocence Project in Ohio. Follow them closely here in Cleveland also, and reading the litany of narratives around people being exonerated. What I found out is that there are numerous different Brady violations. There are numerous different withholding of evidence and prosecutorial misconduct into the final role of death row. Okay. Now, what I have also found out is that over 80% of those who are convicted on death row either had severe mental challenges or educational challenge, or in fact, the majority were African American, and those who also could sentence to life without parole. Now, these disparities, coupled with the elimination of the death penalty, the death penalty is irreversible, but in terms of being cost effective and just being humane and moral, how do we mitigate these other factors? Is it a thing where if we eliminate the death penalty, then in fact our souls are at rest, when these other issues are basically the primary contributing factors of those who are convicted?
Mark, may I answer this? You take it one step at a time. Representative Plummer has a bill that we have moved that would force interrogations to be videotaped. If you can't have a videotape, at least audio taped from start to finish. That will highlight any misconduct done during the investigative phase. That I want to see done. Some other issues that we need to do is to look at prosecutorial misconduct, the withholding of evidence, and if it is really a calculated effort, to find a way to have some penalties on those actions. But again, having a videotaped confession will eliminate some of the shenanigans that has gone on, especially with my friend Tyra Patterson.
In conclusion, Representative Schmidt, I'll make it real brief, less than 10 seconds. There, oftentimes what we find is to obtain conviction that we use what we would call cooperating or collaborating witnesses who in fact have a dubious position in terms of their criminal history. So therefore that I have incentive to besmirch for, hypothetically Mayor Denmore to alleviate criminal penalties. Now, in terms of the death penalty, what do you see, Representative, as a solution? Because it has been quite often that many of the people, maybe Mr. Jameson, that there were other people who testified or had erroneous testimony, and it was not challenged within the process.
Well, and that's the other thing that we have to look at, whether it's a death penalty conviction or a general conviction. You've got to make sure that if it is a witness, it is not a witness that is not prejudiced. And you can't use that witness as the sole reason for the conviction. People make mistakes. When you look at the Cleveland 3 and that 12-year-old young man that was on the bus, clearly couldn't even see the crime, but wanted to be the big man in town and said, oh, I saw it. And then when he wanted to recant it, and you had the detectives looking at his background and threatening his parents if he did, and you look at how that ruined that young man's life, as well as Ricky and Ronnie, and I forget the third gentleman's name. This has to stop. If you're going to convict somebody, you need to have hard evidence. And that doesn't mean just an eyewitness. Eyewitnesses can get so many things wrong, as you well know, because of the emotional trauma that they have seen. Did he wear green pants? Did he wear blue pants? Was he black? Was he white? All of those things you don't even take into account when you're witnessing something violent. So again, it has to be hard evidence.
And let me
I'm so sorry, you all. We unfortunately don't have time. I know that there are so many questions and so much more that we could talk about, and I'm just so sorry that we have run out of time tonight. But I do want to transition.
Let me wrap that up for a minute, Alison. I recognize, I apologize for not interrupting. Alison was giving me messages saying, we got to move on, we got to move on. Thank you so much, everyone. We have like 20 questions in the queue, and they're all really good questions, and they're all so appreciative of Senator Thomas and Representative Schmidt. They're thanking you and along with their questions. I'm so sorry that we're running out of time. We do have another member of our Southern Ohio organizing team, Sue Priesov, who I am to introduce for her to share her perspective. Once again, want to thank our panelists and everyone here. Sue's going to talk about this critical moment and her perspective on that as part of our closing here. Thank you again for everyone's participation and the honor of my being able to moderate the Q&A tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Sue Prieshoff. It's so good to see so many friends and supporters from over the years. I started to work to abolish the death penalty in Ohio back in the 1980s. I was a conservative, naive West Side Catholic fresh out of college who believed that the bad guys were the ones the justice system told me they were. But then a friend got arrested and all my beliefs fell apart. I was blessed that God brought the needed people into my life. Thanks to Reverend Mac, I met and joined up with IJPC and met a new death row mom at a meeting. By coincidence, it was Derrick Jamison's mom, Essie. She asked me to write her son, and how hard could that be? Oh my gosh, it changed my world. Back in the 1980s and through the next decade or so, the capital punishment pendulum was swinging. Prosecutors were seeking the death penalty to look tougher on crime, no matter the cost of money on families or communities. So fast forward to today. So much has been accomplished with great people never giving up on one another. Prosecutors will now bargain with pleas. Money is a concern. Taxpayers are watching. Other countries are expressing their horror. Innocence projects are releasing inmates. Drug companies won't sell institutions any products to kill people, and public opinion is making quite an impact. And our Governor DeWine has helped us by holding off all executions, giving IJPC, OTC, and ACLU a chance to change sentiments using the data that we have collected over the years. We can prove the death penalty does not console victims' families, or deter crime. Many bills have been introduced to Congress and Senate over the years, along with education. But today, I feel our legislatures are finally listening. With all of us here becoming involved like we have been asked here tonight, we can and will make a difference. Let your voices be heard and loud and clear. Talk about it. No, it's not an easy conversation starter, but a necessary one. I know and have great hope that there is another way to protect society. And like my button says, why do we kill people who kill people to show them that killing people is wrong? Thank you.
Thank you. Love you, Sue. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Sue. We're gonna switch over to take action, and Nate from the ACLU is gonna lead us through that piece.
Hey everyone, I'm going to move quick here, and I just want to say this has been a fantastic meeting. It's leaving me wanting more for next time. But before we wrap up, we have one more thing to do, and it's arguably the most important thing we're doing this whole meeting. So I want you to follow along here. These are some of the leading arguments we have supporting repeal. I want you to pay attention and keep track of the one that's most interesting to you, one that's most powerful to you. So the death penalty is horribly expensive, $16 million per case. It disproportionately harms people of color and the economically disadvantaged. It provides no deterrence. The death penalty is cruel and unusual and therefore unconstitutional. The death penalty murders innocent people. For every 5 Ohioans executed, at least one person has been wrongfully convicted or exonerated. And polling is in our favor. The state of Ohio wants this. Almost 60% support the death penalty. Okay, so in your mind, or having written it down, keep track. Which argument is most powerful to you? Because we're going to take a quick action step here. I'm going to give you 2 options. One option will be to send an email to Chairman Manning to ask him to convene the Senate Judiciary Committee to hold the next hearing, which is called proponent testimony. And we need them to have this hearing before they leave for summer recess at the end of June. So time is of the essence. We need to let them know how important this is and how important it is to do it now. We need to keep building momentum. So the link is being dropped in the chat right here, which will take you to our action alert, which is a wonderful form that will help you send this email. You just enter your info and it will send it for you. The second step that I'm going to ask you to take, if you are able, is to pull out your phone. Most of us have it next to us all the time these days, right? So if you can grab it, even if you need to run across the room for 10 seconds here or the other room, go ahead and grab it. Collectively, we are going to call Chairman Manning. He's going to wake up tomorrow morning with 70 or 80 voicemails telling him we need proponent testimony before summer recess. Okay, so we're asking you to consider making this call, and we usually think there are a couple good things to say during these calls. So first, you need to announce who you are. Second, you want to tell them why you're calling, right? We're calling to ask Chairman Manning to hold a hearing for proponent testimony and to abolish the death penalty. Why do you feel that way? Person who's making the call. So I support abolition because, and then go ahead and choose which of the arguments you think is most powerful. The racist aspect, the ratio of innocent men and women being caught up, the overwhelming cost, the inhumane and unconstitutional aspect, that it's not a deterrent, or the polling against. Choose one, okay? Choose which one is most powerful for you. And, or I think it would be cool if we shared with them what's going on this evening with Chairman Manning. I'm at an event right now with Derrick Jamison, who spent 20 years on death row and could have been executed for a crime he didn't commit. Ohio can do better. And then finally, as you're getting ready to hang up, please hold proponent hearing on SB 103. All right, so Chairman Manning, my name is Nate Brown. I'm calling to ask you to hold a hearing for proponent testimony on SB 103 and to abolish the death penalty. I support abolition because I know that it's not a deterrent. And I'm at a meeting right now with Derrick Jamison, who spent 20 years on death row and could have been executed. Ohio can do better. please hold a proponent testimony hearing on SB 103. Thank you. Okay, it's that simple. It'll take you about 45 seconds to do this. I'm gonna do it myself right here, okay? So I'm pulling out my phone and I'll have to mute myself while I'm doing it, of course. But whenever you're ready, the phone number is here, all right? 614-644-7613. So we're all gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes here and make this call, okay? So I'm gonna mute myself and I'll start making mine.
This is Jean Miller, and I'm here in Cincinnati, and I would like to recommend to abolish Ohio's death penalty.
All right, everyone, we're going to give you another 30 seconds to 60 seconds here. So don't rush, plenty of time. We're hanging around. What a surprise it's going to be tomorrow morning, huh, for Chairman Manning.
That will be just awesome.
Yeah. All right, and I'm just scrolling across here, just looking to see, looks like people are about hanging up, which is great. And so for those of you who may be unfamiliar with doing this, or you just haven't done it a lot, that's how easy it is to get involved in the organizing on the campaign. And so we're looking and we're recruiting people to join us for text and phone banking moving forward so that we can contact voters and connect them with their state senator, to connect them with the Judiciary Committee so that they can tell them we need to have these hearings. We ultimately want to vote. Okay. Thank you for doing that. That's wonderful. And it's going to be great to hear how it's received tomorrow. And so I think I'll hand things back over here to Alison real quick to wrap things up.
Thanks so much for leading us through that, Nate. And to each of you who made calls, we are going to send out these links to everybody who has registered for the event. But the easiest way to make sure that you are staying in the loop with all of the important updates as these different bills have hearings and are moving through committees is to join the official campaign to end Ohio's death penalty. So you can use that bit.ly, you can click the link that Alison just left in the chat, sign up. There are lots of ways to get involved and volunteer. You can help send text banking reminders to folks even as early as tomorrow night. We have an event planned. There's lots of incredible organizing that we're doing. For the Southern Ohio teams, there's ways to be involved faith-wise. All of your information is going to be at nodeathpenaltyoh.com. So click there. Thank you again to Representative Jean Schmidt, to Senator Cecil Thomas, to Derrick Jamison, to Sue and Stefan, to Reverend Deacon Royce Winters, and everyone who helped make this event possible. We hope to see you again soon, and we are not going to leave until the death penalty is ended. We are going to do one last thing for anybody who wants to stick around and share this incredible video of Derrick Jamison. And so I will work on doing that now. But if you need to sign off, thanks everybody so much for being here.
And while you're doing that, Allison, bye-bye, everyone. While you're doing that, Allison, I want to invite everyone to also call the House and thank them for having the hearing today, which is awesome. It gives us great momentum, and we're really excited about it.
May I add, the chairman of the committee is Jeff Loray, and you might want to thank him for holding the hearing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Representative.
You just say thank you to Allison as well, and to you, Jennifer, for all your work on this as well.
It was definitely a lot of Allison and Nate, but thank you for that.
And Nate, I'm sorry, Nate.
And thank you to Derrick.
And look at that picture of Derrick.
I hope if I hit play. Sorry, guys.
A beautiful person and someone who is
My name is Derrick Jamison. I'm the 119th death row exoneree in the United States of America. I did 20 years on Ohio's death row. October the 25th, 2005 is one of the best days of my life. The day I was released from Ohio death row. It was like the clouds opened and the sun came in. It's my new birthday. I lost my mom and my dad while I was on Ohio death row. I was innocent. And I had to watch my family suffer along with me. And that's the worst feeling. It destroys family. That's why I fight so hard to end the death penalty in America. They're killing innocent people. It's hard to make an income when you're exoneree. When your background record come up, who gonna hire you and you've been charged with an aggravated murder? Even though you've been exonerated of the charge, they still got them on file. And that makes it hard for us to exist out here. Only thing they gave me after 20 years on death row was $75 and told me to get the hell out of there. I really enjoy talking to the young people, telling them my story, and it's teaching them about ending the death penalty in America. Injustice anywhere is injustice, period.
We're grateful to Derrick and to everybody at Witness to Innocence that helped bring you on, Derrick. Thanks everybody for all of your advocacy. We hope that you continue taking action. Have a wonderful evening.